Opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv after an exciting weekend.
Yes, a very exciting weekend. And we've been exiled again to the homes.
Well, you got a head cold. I got a head cold. Now we got dueling head colds. So
that's it. So what did you think about our Flint neighborhood Saturday?
Well, yeah, it was not surprising because I think if anybody, I guess the only person who was surprised was Paul. This is a safe city Coogan, who continues to be delusionary. Apparently, he doesn't remember that we got voted the most dangerous city in the in the state, and the second most dangerous in the. But I'll tell you, look, this gets back to what we talked about during that Flint Neighborhood Association meeting. The core problems are never ever addressed. I don't care how many storefronts you put in. I don't care how many streets you pave. I don't care how many developers you come in that dump money in. They're going to write it off as a loss ultimately, and the city doesn't move forward. This city has regressed for the last 40 years. When the mills closed, our workforce deteriorated. Nobody was retrained. We didn't keep our workforce. Most of the people who did have a job moved out, and we need to face reality again. This is another political quick fix. The only thing that's missing is when Paul speaks is Judy Garland in the background singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
Somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because according to him, the rainbow ends in Fall River, and here is the pot of gold. Everybody's running to that pot of gold, and he said that Maura Healey was not as she understands gateway cities. Well, you know what the gateway cities goes for? This is the gateway to the homeless camp. After you get pushed out of Fall River because the rents are driving people out. We've told stories again about people whose rent's been jumped $800 a month by when an out-of-town developer gets the properties. That we're destroying the city. What is left? We are not going to be able to. People from Newton are not going to move to Fall River. You want to get a market rate housing where you can get out and get into the middle of a knife fight, a gunfight, a city with crime, a city with a non-functioning or very low-functioning educational system. Rich people don't want to live in a city like this. They don't want to have to send their kids to a private school. The reality is he's coming from the school department, which I think is irony. Because there is the classic example of what the Dems do and what he does. Throw money at a problem, pretend that when you put lipstick on the pig, it's going to turn into a unicorn, and it doesn't. Because look at our school department. How many jobs? How many times have we reorganized the school department? 60 more positions, deans of students, all this thing. And over the last 20 years, the educational attainment level has progressively deteriorated. We are not educating our children. What we have done is doubled our administrative workforce. We got as many administrators as we have teachers. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars educating our children, and they're not being educated. So Paul is bringing the school department scenario over here, and it's always throw money at a problem. Listen, we need to face reality. We got a lot of problems in this. We got a lot of problems in this city, and fixing up buildings and paving streets and writing a check with your mouth that your butt can't cash, like we've been doing for the last 30 years, is not going to change a damn thing. And like I said, we need Judy Garland right now, every time he shows up, because Captain Clueless will try to spin this. The parade, Paul the Parade, Captain Clueless, will figure out how to make that this is like not a common occurrence. What was it? 2 years ago, they shot somebody dead on Bedford Street. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that didn't happen either. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm delusionary, but I remember somebody getting shot dead right outside the old Marconi Club, and it was a motorcycle issue then.
Right. I remember a kid getting killed over here at the corner of Mott and Warren Street. I remember a gentleman getting stabbed down at the bottom of Nashua Street. Okay? And now we get these things going on in the Flint.
No, you're right.
What are we going to do? How are we going to, Carlos is very upset. Carlos Caesar, the mayor of the Flint, is extremely upset. The mayor did not get a hold of him. The police chief didn't get a hold of him. Nobody contacted him. And he was out there with kids. He was out there with kids doing a cleanup when all of this went down. You would think that the mayor would have said, are the kids all right? Or the police chief would have said, are the kids all right? Now, even if they had just finished, I would still check. Are the kids all right? Did they get home okay? Is everything all right? Nobody checked with him at all. So he's pissed off. And he's going to be making phone calls today because he wants to talk about it. Good luck on getting the mayor, Carlos.
Well, they're getting their story. They're getting their propaganda. This is the propaganda ministry. If you say this city's safe enough, people will believe it. But I hate to tell you this, Paul. They're not believing you because they live in this city. They don't live up in the enclave north of the border here. They live in the real city of Fall River, where elderly people are afraid to come out of their homes at night. They're afraid to walk the streets. We are the number one city in crime in this state, but we never address it. Listen, we can go back to the Lambert administration.
Ooh.
He categorically denied that we had gangs in the city of Fall River his entire administration. Never admitted it, even though they confiscated hundreds of weapons from an Asian gang. There were gangs running all over Fall River, and everybody apparently the mayor's office is insulated. It's like a bomb shelter. He didn't know there were gangs. And the ironic part about that, most of the time, he lived right in my neighborhood, which is in the middle of the Flint.
Right.
But apparently he didn't know that there was a gang. See, this is what we got in Fall River. We got delusionary denial. All the public officials always have the same attitude. Oh, wait a minute. She just appeared, but I got to get rid of her because you can't do that. It's Judy. Judy was singing in the background. I can't believe it. But let me tell you something. It don't work. This is not Oz. We do not live in Oz. You know what we live in? We live in the propaganda ministry that says the border's closed. Americans don't have baby food, but illegals do. We live in a propaganda. Let's take a look back. Let's give the people a little bit of strategy here, strategy lesson of observations, surveillance and observation. When you go to that Flint neighborhood meeting or any meeting, when you go to a city council meeting, when you go to anything, look around the room. Don't listen to what's being said. Look at who's saying it. When I looked around that room in the Flint Neighborhood Association, you know what I saw that night? I saw a guy speaking about this who is the same guy, you know, you're going to know who I'm talking about, who told us that the CPA was wonderful.
Yep.
It was the greatest thing. It's going to help this city. It's going to do, the money's going to go to the buildings, and it's going to make all these, and all it did is go to politicians and politically connected people. I saw him in the room advocating, saying how wonderful this program is. I saw another individual following the mayor in. That individual was the one who told us the charter was a wonderful thing. So when you see these people, it's the same old people. People with their own agenda, people looking for something because they're politically connected. They're not down there to tell the truth. They're there to give you the party line. They give you the party line. So when you look around at this thing, look around at that audience and see who's speaking. And the people who always say this is really, really good for you have been saying that for decades. That individual that said the CPA was wonderful was on a city council when he said that. Told us how wonderful it was. They told us how wonderful his charter was going to be. That was done under false pretenses. That said they were going to tweak it, and they threw it out and scrapped it and gave us the most disastrous charter in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This is the problem. It's time to stop buying their con because they are disingenuous at best and flat out liars at worst. And that's the problem. Like our government, our federal government, they take their marching orders from the federal government that ignores the law. They're allowing people to protest outside judges' homes when there's a federal law against it. And they said, well, you know, they got a right to, no, they don't have a right to protest out there because they're attempting to change the verdict. There has been a federal law, but does Merrick Garland say we got to send the feds in? The feds aren't saying a peep. It's crickets. Joe Biden, they're actually encouraging it. But if it was the other way around, you'd get locked up for 2 years with no due process for wandering around the Capitol building. But I'll tell you right now, we're hitting a breaking point. The inflation's not going away. They're talking about a massive recession on its heels. And this move could be the destruction of the city and the Flint, because we're going to have a lot of people being thrown out into the streets. And you and I hear the stories every day.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And you know, the sad part about it is it never goes away. It never, ever goes away. It's always the same things. It's always the same situations. And to be honest, I get tired of writing about it. I get tired of talking about it. But what can you do?
Well, what we can do is, CJ, you said it never goes away. Why does it never go away? Because in the days that we had 70% turnouts, we didn't have these times, did we?
Right.
No. But now when we have 14%, 12% turnouts, you get what you deserve.
Right.
But now, like when we had the recall, people got out. I think in a year this November, the people sitting in those seats are going to be held accountable. There will be a reckoning.
Well, that will be good. It'll be about time, that's for sure. I'm keeping an eye on all our feeds here. It's going to be interesting because, you know, the weekend flush was not my best this weekend, by the way, people. I was dying in bed, but I took my butt out of the bed and decided to write it. I wrote it in 3 hours. And my proofreader called me up and said, hey, go to the second line on the second page. I said, yep, read that. I said, oh my God, I just put the. He says, yeah, what comes after it? I said, I don't know. I guess I'll have to figure it out. I was stopping here, there, and everywhere, but it is what it is. But back to the Flint. how can you not call Carlos? How can you not touch base with him? And this wasn't just personal injury. This was also property damage. They had to board up a building for a business. There are two businesses in that area which have been there for 40 years. They draw customers from all over, from New York, from Connecticut, from New Jersey, from all over. Now, let's be realistic. If you're a customer coming from New Jersey, New York, you probably don't care, but New Jersey, and you saw what just went on, would you want to go shopping here? Would you want to spend your money here? I know I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't. And one of those businesses, the man turned around and said, well, you have to expect it. No, you don't have to expect it. And you shouldn't expect it. But this is what's happened. Our businesses have gotten so placated, they just, this is the way it is.
They're accepting it as normal.
Yeah.
But you did mention something in the weekend flush, and I'm gonna hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I've had this thing for basically a week, so you're gonna have this for a while because this thing is terrible. It's going around, but it is a long lasting. Normally, it clears up in a day or two, but I've had this thing for quite a while, and my head's still like a
Well, I can tell you it's not COVID. I can tell you it is not COVID.
No, it's not. Mine isn't either. But it's because basically all I got is that I don't have any fatigue or anything like that. But I just feel like my head's a basketball. It is fairly large, but I know that. But the fact is that it is. But you talked about something in a weekend flush. I think that's really important too about Carlos. Carlos is obviously intimately involved with the Flint for years, for decades.
3 decades.
Invested in it. But you mentioned about some businesses, supposedly, who have abandoned buildings that are non-compliant, that are also getting liquor licenses.
Right.
So, again, we have an administration that's clueless. So, are we holding people accountable? I guess we are, like they do in the school department. Did we hold Matt Malone accountable? Yeah, we sure did. We allowed him to run amok. We're going to still pay for his lawsuits, and they buried the damn report on him.
Amok.
And again, are we holding these landlords accountable? I can tell you one thing: if you're a private citizen and they knock on your door with your new assessment, they are going to write you up for every damn thing they can. So you're going to have to pull permits. And you're gonna have inspectors going around and up your butt with a flashlight. But these people have buildings that need repair. They're in disrepair. Some of them are in arrears with their taxes, but they're still getting permits. They're not on a list. Again, no accountability, no ability to treat people fairly and equitably. You're in. You know somebody, you get your license, you get the permit. You get a liquor license. Those things they're difficult to get. Yet we're getting them. So if that allegation, because I can't prove it, but the fact is you alluded to it. And this is the kind of thing. So you're letting buildings go up in disrepair that now the city is going to take them over, but then you get something, you get a benefit from the city, you get a license to make money in another property while you let another property fall into disrepair. This is the problem why these quote unquote urban renewal projects always fail, because the only thing they renew is their bank accounts, and they put lipstick on it, and then in a couple of years those buildings are back to the way they were, because the people who inhabit those areas are not renewed. You don't see apprenticeship programs, job programs, work fair programs, doing things that will help these people become employed and have discretionary income. That's the only thing that will float an economy in a city like Fall River. Not coincidental that cities with a lot of money have a lot more businesses, and they can sustain those businesses. Lipstick on it. I don't care how nice your restaurant is. You can have the fanciest restaurant on the planet. If your food sucks, you're not staying in business for a long time. The only restaurants that serve really crappy food and stay in business are probably serving for dessert a few illegal things. Because you can't stay in business if you serve crappy food. And you can't stay in business no matter how good your product is if there's nobody to buy it.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. You can say what you want, but the reality is this is it. This is the way it is. You're going to fix up the Flint, and believe me, I'd love to see a beautiful looking Flint. I mean, when I walked the Flint as a child and every store was filled, every apartment was filled, and everybody had a job. Not a great job, but a job. They had money. They could go up and buy things. They couldn't buy Mercedeses and stuff like that, but they could, they all had an income. And places like Shalmore Furniture used to let you pay by the week. Remember that, CJ? The places in Fall River, variety stores used to keep a book. You go in, you buy stuff at the end of the week. When you got your pay, you go in and you pay your little. But they stayed in business. Everybody stayed in business. But today, all they want to do is push the poor people out, but they're not going to go anywhere because they can't go anywhere. And what are you going to do? When you hear the story about the woman who's got a 2-bedroom apartment, and she's got a job, obviously, that I heard, $1,200 a month, and that's pretty steep for Fall River in the old days for a 2-bedroom in a halfway decent neighborhood, not a great neighborhood, but not a halfway decent neighborhood. Outside developer came in, grabbed the property. As soon as they grabbed the property, flipped it to them, $2,000, $800 increase, $200 a week increase. She's out of the apartment. I can't afford that.
Right.
Not with the inflation and everything. And she said, I'm looking for another apartment. I can't find one. I can't find a 2-bedroom apartment cheaper than that I would want to move into. And soon they will all be gone. And what's going to happen to the people who can't afford this? Well, that's what it is.
It's tough that the mayor and the city council aren't acknowledging this, that they're not realizing that the people of Fall River are having a difficult time maintaining their lifestyle the way it has been maintained for years. And when you're considering the fact that they've got to decide whether or not to live where they're living, if they can afford it, or do they pay for their medication, or do they go homeless, it's a scary situation. There, but by the grace of God go I. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, remember at that meeting, I brought up a study, and the Sarah Page said, "Oh, I'd like to see that study." I said, "I'll give you the link at the next meeting." But I saw why don't they have those studies? Why don't they look? Why didn't they look up those studies?
Right.
Why don't they have that? I have that, and the thing is, I looked them up and I found a numerous one. But the one I didn't even quote, but I'm going to give it to them, is that these are cities that are in better financial shape than Fall River. And this is a fairly recent study. It was 2020, and it's even worse now. But they said in places that had this type of movement, where these out-of-town developers came in and pushed up the price, they found 130% increase in evictions and foreclosures on houses. 132% increase. Nobody wants to tell you that number, though, do they?
No.
Nobody wants to tell you that number. Because you know something, it probably been 250%, but the developers will stay in there for a while, and if they don't make money, then they'll just write it off as a loss.
They'll dump it.
But like you said, everything's somewhere over the rainbow. We're all in Oz. Let's follow the yellow brick road. The rainbow the rainbow. As a matter of fact, something, CJ. I think the spur that comes to Fall River off the MBTA, we should call it the yellow line.
There you go.
For the yellow brick road, or maybe the urine road. I don't know. Yeah. But we should call it the yellow line.
It'd be interesting, that's for sure. I doubt they'll do it for us, but that would be interesting. You're talking about flipping properties. A friend of ours, Patrick, his brother sold his father's house. He got a little over $2,000 for it. The next day, it was sold for $3,000, and then the day after that, it was sold for $4,000. See how fast they turn those properties over? And there was no change, no improvement in the property at all.
Well, see, therein lies the problem. They flip these things and they make money on them until it gets to the point where they're not going to make a profit on the property, and then they just forget it.
Right.
There's no improvement. These things are not being bought because they have an investment in the community. And these people are so full of crap when they think these out of town. They're buying units in Massachusetts by the thousands. Sight unseen. So what kind of investment do they have in the city of Fall River when they're buying 3-deckers they don't even look at? They're just rolling them over and figuring out if they can flip them or they can turn them into income property. And when that doesn't work, they're going to just move on to the next place. But the damage that they did, the prices that they left, selling prices are not going to go away.
No.
And for the people who truly want to live in Fall River, that damage is irreparable. It will last forever.
I agree. And the sad part about it is we're letting it happen. All of us are.
I'm sorry for blowing my nose with this head.
That's okay. I've coughed a couple of times. I turned the mic off. We're letting it happen. And the mayor's letting it happen because the mayor's saying, oh, it's for the good of Fall River. I haven't seen one thing come out yet that's for the good of Fall River.
It's for the good of all his rich friends, and we know it. And look, you can say what you want, but we didn't. When I stopped working, I didn't leave Fall River. I stayed here, and so you're gonna have a hard time convincing me that you have Fall River's best interest at heart. When you're doing things like this, because you're clueless. Like I said, he has earned that moniker of Captain Clueless. Because, like you said, you made it. You put it in quotes in your weekend flush. It's a safe city.
Yeah.
And you're right. I don't know where I don't know under what rock he is, but unless he gets Star Trek, unless he gets transported with a transporter beam from his house yeah. Beam me up, Scotty. Beam me up to the 6th floor. And then he doesn't take time. Apparently he forgot his visit to Corky Row after the murders.
Yep.
Apparently he forgot about the murder on Bedford Street with the motorcycle gangs. Apparently he forgets the stabbings, the shell casings.
But as you always say, it's all about the optics.
That's right.
It's all about the optics.
Oh, God.
Because it's all about the base, about that base, the treble.
Yeah, and look we're gonna keep telling the people, we're gonna keep organizing the people, and I can tell you, a year this November, hopefully we will have a cadre of candidates that are gonna come and run on a platform of the people of Fall River come first. We're gonna look at long-term plans, not short-term fixes. No finger in the dike. They're gonna be looking at rebuilding Fall River the way it was taken apart, brick by brick. We need to begin to focus on a 10 and a 20-year plan, not for bonding, but for fixing Fall River. That's what we need to do. We need politicians in those seats to do that.
Brick by brick. That's how we've got to do it, brick by brick. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. We're already coming to the end of our show. Time seems to fly when we're having fun, and we're miserable. So please remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday.